Good Friday morning. It's WKRK in Murphy, 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, and worldwide at country.am. And this is the half hour on the Friday show where I take a break and relax and let Derek Palmer, the sheriff, talk so I can take a breath. This morning, Derek could kind of tell that I'm in a chaotic mode.
He's needs some relaxation, I think, from it. I offered to go and sit in his seat and push buttons and stuff for him. I know how stressful that must be to push buttons all day.
We should trade seats now.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll do your job if you'll do mine. How about that?
Sounds like fun. Yeah. Can I have the car keys now?
Sure.
All right. You know, the sheriff and I have done two. I told him I think that his patrol car is haunted or something. We have tried to do two Facebook Live feeds with me in the front seat, riding with Derek, and we did one yesterday, and both of them had technical issues. So something in that car is.
I hope it's not the black snake still in the car.
Yeah. Teresa and I were talking about that last night.
Right.
Had that thing fallen out of the glove compartment while I was sitting in there, we would probably have to do a little editing.
I've not seen it all summer, so hopefully it's not still in there. If it is, it's dead somewhere by now. But no, I hadn't seen it all summer long, so maybe it's no longer in my vehicle. And for those of you that don't know the snake story, you may want to go back to early summer, maybe late spring.
It's the show where I cackled.
Yeah, we were just talking about that this morning. Tim laughed through the whole show.
That was the funniest show. Because Derek is, he and I have similar opinions on wanting to be near snakes. We appreciate the fact that they exist,
right?
But we just don't want to be in the same room with them.
I'm sure God made them for a reason, and they're here for a purpose. But I just don't like them.
We're just not best friends.
No.
All right.
And it's just like, well, we'll get off on a tangent here. I started saying it's just like a gnat. Why did God make a gnat? I never understood that.
I never did either.
Yeah, just something to bother people with, I guess.
Well, you've had a pretty busy week.
It has been a busy week. Yeah, we've had a good week, a busy week. For those of you that know the main story, the topic that's going on in the county right now is the Vietnam Wall. The traveling wall is here at the Band of Brothers Patriot Park there in Murphy Veterans Memorial Park. I think it's 430 Carriage Lane there on Pleasant Valley Road. If you haven't heard about it or hadn't been there, please go out and view that. It's going to be here, I think, through Monday. And so go view that wall. One thing that, Tim, that dawned on me yesterday that I didn't, through the whole planning phases of this and getting the wall here and all the construction and all the stuff that not only we've done, but Roger and Pat Swanson and the other volunteers and people that's put effort into this. One thing that even through this whole process didn't dawn on me until yesterday is that once we got it set up yesterday and people started to come view it, I started watching yesterday evening a lot of the elderly people that was in wheelchairs, people that could barely walk, could barely get around, were there viewing the wall, and they were etching names of their children or nephews or cousins or other family members, people they served with. And the one thing that had never dawned on me until yesterday was the fact of that there's probably people everywhere in our area that would love to go to Washington, D.C. and see the wall, but either physically not able to go or financially can't go, or for whatever reasons can't make it up there to view the wall. And so I just think it's just a wonderful thing that we were able to get the wall down here so that people here locally could make a trip to that wall and see that and honor their loved ones and those they served with in Vietnam. And like I say, it never dawned on me that a lot of those people, that may be the only chance they ever get to do that, and because they're physically unable to travel to Washington, D.C. So we're just glad to have it here. We're glad to be a part of that, and there's tons of people that's already been visited. This morning when I went by there, the schools were bringing the children over, letting them view the wall and teaching them about the history of the Vietnam War and a lot of just military in general and different things about our country. And it was just amazing to see all those children from kindergarten age all the way through high school age there at different times, taking the tours and learning about our country and learning about the war and the names on the wall and all the different things that's going on there. And for it's my understanding, I think almost every kid in the school system is coming to view the wall.
Wonderful.
And there may be a few people that's opted out of that, but I think the majority of the people coming are the majority of the school are coming to view it.
I haven't seen the whole thing put up yet, except for in photos.
Right.
We did that live broadcast yesterday when they were putting it together, and that was impressive watching. And that's a half-size replica.
Half-size replica.
And that is still a very impressive looking wall. And yeah, we're gonna be doing more Facebook Live feeds there Saturday.
Right.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah, wow.
It snuck up on us, didn't it?
Yeah. I keep on thinking today's like a Wednesday. And
Right.
thinking, I have plenty of time to get all my stuff together and my thoughts organized, but that never happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning is the Veterans Appreciation.
The Veterans Appreciation. That will be actually at the Band of Brothers Park.
Mm-hmm.
The Veterans Memorial Park, which is down on the other end of the field from where the Vietnam Wall is located. That'll be a separate issue, a separate celebration down there on that end. We'll be starting at 10 o'clock. There'll be music, and there will be entertainment. There will be food. There'll be all kind of things down there, different speakers, and that's an interesting place in itself. Of just looking, Roger has put together several helicopters and old military equipment, different vehicles, different things down there on that end, and it's just good to look back and see those things. One of the helicopters has got a Huey. And it's a crashed Huey, and he's got it set up to where it's got in a rice paddy, where it's crashed in a rice paddy with a bridge to it and all that. And it's really neat to go by there and just look at those things that Roger's done down there with that property. There's other memorial things, other things there. They've got crosses set up there for with everyone's name from Cherokee County that had died in war. So they got a cross for each person that's ever died in war from Cherokee County. They've got all kind of things done there, so please come by and take part of that. That's 10 o'clock tomorrow morning at the Band of Brothers Veterans Memorial Park there in Murphy. Then on the other side of the field, approximately a couple hundred yards away from that, where the Vietnam Wall is set up, at 1 o'clock there will be a ceremony there, dedication and memorial ceremony there for those persons that's on the wall, and for family members and people who served in Vietnam. There'll be Special Forces parachute team parachuting in. Like I say, that will be happening at 1 o'clock tomorrow evening. There at
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and so they're actually going to bring in, I think they're going to have red, white, and blue parachutes when they come in. The last skydiver, will be bringing in a large American flag as he comes in, and they'll be landing there at the Vietnam Memorial Wall.
You know, this is something that's extremely impressive. Both you and I have shared pictures of the Band of Brothers Veterans Park on our Facebook page.
Right.
Yours on your page and mine on the WKRK page. So if people want to browse, preview that before they go. It really is a sight to behold. And because it's not on the main drag, it's not on the main road,
Right.
a lot of people locally don't even know it exists. And it's so impressive just to go look at. And for people, I had probably at least 12 or 13 people yesterday ask me, where is this?
Right.
If you can find Pleasant Valley Road, you can't miss it. Pleasant Valley Road starts there at Bojangles and Murphy and loops back around to the Sweet Tooth area. So get on that road, just stay on Pleasant Valley Road, and it'll be right there on the side.
Yeah, you can't miss it. If you get on Pleasant Valley Road, you will find it.
So and I'm encouraging folks to go out there and see the Band of Brothers Veterans Park. The admission is free.
It's free.
It's that has been a complete labor of love on
It has.
on Roger and Pat's part.
I think they started that about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And when I talked to Roger about it and talked to him about his purpose for doing that, one of the things he said to me that really impressed me is that he said his whole sole purpose of doing that is so that his grandchildren could learn that freedom isn't free, and they could learn what people have sacrificed so that they could have freedom, and they could learn so that for future generations coming up. And he started that actually just for his grandkids, and it had blossomed into something much bigger than what he anticipated. And once he got it started, then people started, not only did he purchase equipment to go in it, but people started donating equipment that they had at their homes or they had in other places that said, hey, this would be good for your park. we like what you're doing, so we want to donate this, and so you can display it there. And so it's open to the public, and it's open year round, daily to the public. So if anybody, even if you can't get there this weekend, if you say, man, I'm gone this weekend, but I would really like to visit that park, and you're going to be next week before you can get here, come on by. You can come by next week. Now, the wall won't be here next week, but the park itself will be here next week, and you can still view that and view all the things that he's got down there.
And I was impressed too that let's see, someone donated the asphalt to go in front of the wall there.
There were a lot of donations, and I'm just name a few. I know I'm going to leave people out, and please forgive me because I don't know everybody that's donated. I know people, different companies, and different people have donated different things. But for example, one of the when you get the wall to come, there are requirements. There are things that the people who put this on, they give you a list of things that has to be done before you can before you can even be eligible to have the wall. One of the things that was necessary was you had to make arrangements to have something down in front of the wall so it would not be muddy if it rained. That could be carpet, that could be gravel, that could be mulch, that could be a lot of different things. They recommended carpet in front of the wall, but it had to be something down that people could get to, and it had to be smooth. It had to be to where people with wheelchairs could access it. It had to be, that people wouldn't stumble and fall and those type of things. So as we were putting this together and trying to figure out what to do, Roger being Roger and knowing how to get things done, he said, "Don't do anything yet. Let me make a couple of phone calls." And he called back a couple of weeks later and said, "Everything's taken care of. Don't worry about it." Well, what I didn't know was that Roger had talked to Chris Paving, and they actually came over and volunteered and donated paving in front of the wall. So they actually paved a strip in front of the wall and a pathway there that people could access the wall to where it wouldn't be muddy and it would meet the requirements of the wall and those type of things. So not only did they make a donation, but you had Lowe's donated the mulch and flowers to go around there to decorate it. You had Murphy Power Board involved, Larry Kearney and their group down there involved with putting the power in and putting lights on the wall and illuminating the wall. Another requirement was the wall had to be illuminated at night, and so they came in and put the power in the ground and put lights up so the wall could be illuminated of a nighttime. You had we've got tons of volunteers down there that's just volunteering their time. That's they're just helping people, escort them to the wall, helping them find names, helping them etch names, going through the books to help them locate family members. Different people donated things like the PVC mortar shells and things that are down there. I think Roger's brother made those and donated them. So there are a lot of people that's involved in this that made different donations of different kind, not to mention the amount of people who have donated monetarily to pay for the wall, to pay for the things that were done down there, to pay for the expenses that's involved in it. And so it was not something that was just free that we could just call it up and say, hey, just come set it up. And they just showed up and set it up. It took a lot of labor to get this thing here. Actually, Roger, along with these people I mentioned and others, our inmate work crew, our detention center, has spent about 4.5 months on just preparing for the wall to come, of just doing things down there, of getting the criteria met, of getting things set up. We got a stage down there that the speakers will be speaking from Saturday. We've got a PA system. We've got all kind of different things down there that took a lot of effort to get set up and to get going, so that the wall could get here and could be honored in the way it should be honored. And that's what our goal was. We didn't want to do anything halfway just to say we got the wall here.
Right.
But we really wanted to bring honor to those names that's on the wall. We really wanted to bring honor to the families that was involved, and we really wanted to do what we can for those that served in Vietnam that's still here, so that we could show respect and show honor to them and let them know that this was something that we wanted to be a labor of love and do because it was the right thing to do.
The one thing that kind of does inspire me, going off what you were just talking about, we can turn on the TV news, read Facebook or any internet news story and see how the division of our people in our country can be, based on race, politics, things like that. But this is a prime example right here in our own community of how people of different backgrounds can come together for unity, work together to make something good. And it's just a very good testimony of what kind of people we live among.
It is. And and just the fact of the school system being involved, that was another name I didn't mention a while ago, but just the fact that the school system's involved in it and cares enough to ensure that their students learn about it and that they come and take part in it, and that they get taught the history of the war, and they get taught of what our country come from. And I think that's one of the things that has kind of troubled me a little bit about these things in the country going on lately, about the removal of the statues and these different things that's happening. Is I don't condone racism in any way, and I'm not saying that they should remain, but what I am saying is the fact of that if we don't remember where we came from, then we're doomed to repeat our past. And so, with the statutes that were up, with the different things that everybody's trying to remove from our country and remove from our history, an alternative way of looking at that is that I would feel like, from my heritage, I'm from an Indian background and American Indian, and I think about my ancestors and my family as far as being, removed from their homeland and taken away from here, and the way they were tortured and the way they were hurt. But you look back at some of these monuments and some of these things from these people who did these things, and it's a reminder to me to where we've come from. It's a reminder of me of where we are as a country now and where we have come from. And so that's an alternative way of looking at it. Now, I would agree for anybody that's out there listening, that when people do bad things, we shouldn't necessarily give them a place of prominence, and I agree with that. But it's the fact of that I'm very concerned when we try to remove history. I'm very concerned when we try to not talk about history or remove history, and we try to pretend like it didn't happen. That concerns me.
Right. History did happen. It may not be the prettiest history in the past, but I'm hoping that we can learn from those ugly moments in history.
Right. And like I say, there are different viewpoints and people believe different things. And for another example of that I was thinking this morning, with this wall coming in and thinking about our country, there's a lot of things that have been racing through my mind this week. And one of the things that I believe in the Constitution, I believe in the foundation and the principles that our country was set on. And so when you talk about things like happened in Las Vegas this week and the mass shooting out there, and inevitably, it was going to come up, the discussion of gun bans and Second Amendment rights and all these type of things. My first instinct is to go to that and protect our Second Amendment rights. They were set up there so we could protect ourselves against our own government. They were there so that we could defend ourselves against tyranny. And so, I'm very passionate about that. But I also have to look at that too and understand and realize that the Constitution was written in such a way to where our founding fathers had actually said that if the generations to come finds error in what we've done or changes it, they have an avenue of changing the Constitution.
Right.
So we have to acknowledge that also, that there are, if we're going to say we're a constitutionalist, there are avenues in there of changing the Constitution. So we can't just be just focused in on one thing, and we can't just say it's my way or no way. We've got to just really look at this whole thing from a big picture and say what is the best thing for our country and what is the best thing for our future. And times have changed, people change, so we have to look at what's going on around us and try to adapt to that's around us.
Yeah, the whole gun control issue is a very sensitive topic. I think most of us agree that we should be able to have guns to protect ourselves from others, but then there's that also the part where should someone have enough guns that they can wipe out, such as Las Vegas kill 58 people and injure others in such a period of time.
Right.
And the other confusing part about that is, too, we know that some people should not have guns because of either their mental health or their criminal history. But in this case with the Las Vegas shooter, there were no signs that there, even his own family cannot believe that he was capable of doing that.
And from all indications to this point, unless they come out with something later, the weapons that were purchased were legally purchased weapons in the manner that was set aside to purchase them. Even the apparatuses that were used that changed them into automatic weapons were legal purchases. They were legal to have.
What are those? Bump
stocks. Yeah.
Okay, I've never.
And
seen
basically,
one.
what it is it. From my understanding, I've never saw one either. But from my understanding, it's when a round goes off, the recoil that comes off the weapon as a mechanism in the butt stock that forces the firing pin to fire again, and so it can do it faster than you can pull your finger. And so it's the same thing as if you just stood there and just squeeze the trigger as fast as you could squeeze it. But these things do it basically automatically, so that the recoil, the pressure off the recoil, causes it to fire again. But the important thing about this is that was legally. So when you talk about gun control and you talk about these things in the country, it wasn't like this person went out and illegally purchased firearms, or he was found mentally deranged and should have never had a firearm in the first place by our standards and all those kind of things. So it forces us to take a look at what do we need to do differently. Is there anything we need to do differently? But one of the things I want to caution people about, and one thing we need to understand, is even though we may find things that we need to do differently, we may need stricter gun control, we may need to ban the butt stocks, we may need to do these different things to protect people. But what we've got to understand as a nation, we cannot legislate morality.
Right.
We cannot make enough laws to cause people to be nice to each other. We cannot create enough laws to make people do the right thing. We can't create enough laws to keep people from hurting other people. So when you get down to the core root of this, and you get down to the core root of the shooting and all the bad things that's going on in the world, and racism and all the things that's going on, it goes back not to a issue of the law, but it goes back to a societal issue of morality and decency, and how we are raised to treat each other, and how we are raised to view life and to view the preciousness of life. And it's one of the things that I have talked about for years, and I know this upsets a lot of people, but it's true. But when we go out and we teach our children evolution, and we teach our children that you're just here by a random chance, and we teach our people that you're only here because by some random lightning bolt struck a pond of scum and then life was formed, then we teach our children you have no purpose. We teach our children that there's no reason why you're here, that you're just a random chance, and there's no meaning for your life. And so when we start teaching that and telling our generations that, and they start believing that, then that's where we start seeing what we're seeing today is we're not having any consequences for our actions, and it really doesn't matter because there's no afterlife, there's no future, and I can do what I want to and treat people how I want to and say what I want to and do what I want to because I'm just a random chance, nothing matters. And so I think that's where religion really steps in, and it's very important to teach people religious values and to teach people that you are here for a purpose, you're here for a design, you're here for a reason, and there is meaning to your life. And when we can go back to that and teach our generations coming that there is a purpose for you and there is a meaning for you, then you'll start seeing decrease in those societal things. There are mental issues. There are things out there that it's beyond our control, whether it's chemical imbalances, whether it's problems with the person mentally that we can't control no matter what kind of teaching or religion or anything that we do. And those things are always going to be here too, so we have to learn how to deal with those things.
And there's really no test we can give to everybody just to find out whether they are capable of owning a gun or whatever. I mean, the guy in Vegas, I think I read that he worked at the IRS at one point, and maybe at a post office. Yeah. So he was, well qualified, and he was a very wealthy man, so a very successful person financially. But again, it goes down to what's inside.
One of the things I think that I labor on more than anything at the sheriff's office is that our ladies that do the gun purchase permits and concealed weapon permits, they're very good at their job and very good about what they do. But when it comes time for denials and denying people from purchasing a gun or deny people from possessing firearms, concealing those, I review those and I look those things over before we do that. And I think that's one of the things I labor over more than anything, because it is a fine line balance between your constitutional right to be able to have a firearm and to purchase a firearm and to carry a firearm, it's a fine balance between that and a person who has mental issues or a person who has societal issues or things that probably shouldn't have a gun. And so that weighs heavy on my heart, having to decide on those certain situations of whether I should give this person the ability to have a firearm or not. And some of those things are very difficult to decide. It's very difficult on which side to go on. The laws have helped us make things a little bit more clear. If there are certain things that are met in their background, certain things that are met that they have said or done or been committed or have a criminal record, and certain crimes they've committed, it's an automatic denial, and that makes it easier for us.
Right.
But there are some things, like, for example, on purchase permit, that the sheriff has the ability to deny people based on moral character. Well, what do I base my moral character on? I have nothing to base that on except on what I believe and what my thought process about God and religion and those kind of things, So I have to weigh those things in and to make sure that I'm not imposing my religion or my will on someone else. And so we have to look at those things on that moral character end of it, and sometimes they can get very fine line in there as to whether we give people firearms or not.
Yeah, that does have to be hard, because I also have, my religious beliefs, and I realize that people can either have their beliefs or not believe the way, yet we still have to respect each other's beliefs. Right. And I think that's one of the things between the religious bickering and the political bickering on Facebook. If people would just respect that others have their own beliefs and be okay with that.
Fred Lunsford used to say when he preached, he used to say, you have a right to be wrong if you want to.
I like that. Yeah. I may have to steal that one.
Yeah, you have a right to be wrong.
So a lot of the things that I've noticed, and it's not all of the younger generation, because I've seen a lot, even when I was at NQC, the National Quartet Convention, there's a lot of young people that are very sincere and they were involved in the music there.
I want to say this about our young people. I'm glad you brought that up. I was over at the wall this morning, and they were shipping those buses in there. And I think at one time I looked at there, and there's probably about 15, 20 buses on the hill. And they were kids of all ages, from, pre-K, kindergarten, all the way up to high schoolers that were there. But I want the people to know this, that I saw nothing down there but respect.
Wonderful.
I did not see a child down there that was being disrespectful or misbehaving in any way. Even those little guys that were down there, they were quiet. They were standing in line. They were being respectful. When they were doing their history lesson, they would sit and listen. And everything I saw down there was nothing but good things happening and good things from our youth. And I agree with you 100%. Sometimes there can be some bad apples out there that give our youth a bad name. But I think we have way more good youth than we do bad ones out there.
It's the bad ones that get the attention.
Right.
And sadly, that attention's not really needed to be given. Like we say before, it's all the bad news is what makes the ratings for the TV stations and stuff. And I do wish there was a lot more positive. And that's one of the reasons I like what we do here at this radio station. There's so much positive community involvement, just hearing things that people do, and just like this wall coming together, all the people that have volunteered and made this possible.
One thing that we see, and we see this even in cities in America, even in Las Vegas, if you look at those news reports and you see what people have done out there, people coming back into gunfire to help those, even while the shots were still being fired and ricocheting off the pavement and hitting people, people taking people to the hospital and coming back, to pick up more people, even while the shooting was still going on. Even while I know one guy they interviewed on the television last night, he actually left, grabbed someone, took him to the hospital, came back, was working with the second person when he got shot, So, even in these cities, sometimes even cities get a bad rap of their attitude and the way they do life and different things. But I think all of us, for Americans, we have this thing built into us that we really want to help each other.
Absolutely. I saw so many heroes from that story, both with law enforcement, first responders, and then just civilians who were cared. There was one, I think he was a Marine that stole a truck to haul people to take them. And the person he stole the truck from thanked him for that.
Right.
And that meant a lot to me. And to be in that situation, gunfire coming from the 32nd floor at that, and then knowing that law enforcement security guards are trying to find that, running back up there to try to stop that.
Right.
And it had to be a hard call to say, we can't worry about the victims right now. We have to stop so there's not more victims.
Right.
At first, that seemed offensive, that we can't worry about the victims, but then it makes sense.
Yeah.
We have to stop it before it gets worse.
Yeah, that's one of the things they teach us in law enforcement, and we do it naturally, but one thing they actually teach is in rapid deployment. Rapid deployment came about when you started having the school shootings and the mass shootings, kind of getting away from the SWAT mentality. The SWAT mentality was you kind of form a group, you make plans, you negotiate, you wait them out, all those kind of things. The rapid deployment mentality is you go to where the fire's at. You go stop it as soon as you can stop it. And so they teach us that. But one of the things that they don't teach is, like, for example, I heard a story at the Las Vegas shooting where the first security guard that arrived at the room was actually shot through the door. Mm-hmm. The guy doing the shooting actually turned around and shot through the door and hit the security guard in the hallway. When the police arrived and the police got there, the security guard had remained on scene and helped them get access to rooms and access to different places where they could go in. And I think he took his own life, where they actually made it into the room, but helped them get into the room and helped them get to what they needed and the resources they needed. And then after it was all over with, was helping them with video and helping them with all these other stuff. And finally the police made them say, you're going to have to go get treated. You've got to go to the hospital.
Shot.
You've been shot, you know. And so one of the things you don't teach is that people really do deep down want to help, want to care for other people, want to do these things. And so that's what we look for in law enforcement. Those are the kind of people that we want to employ. Most law enforcement officers, when bad things happen, are going to go to it. They're going to go try to take care of the situation. But the great officers are the ones that keep coming back.
Yes. And the shooter had barricaded the stairwell so people couldn't come up that way, and he had a camera in the pinhole of his door to look out, and then I understand one on a cart, like a food cart outside, so he could see what was coming up the hall. So it amazes me how much premeditation, how much preparation that happened to make this, for whatever reason, was chosen to happen.
Right.
I don't understand the mind of someone who takes that much time and effort.
I mean, I'm just going to be honest about this. I'm surprised it took this long for it to happen. For years, we have talked about it. For years, in the law enforcement world, we have talked about, the ball games, the concerts, the places where people have gathered, and the possibility of being long-range snipers and long-range shooters and those type of things. And we have actually had discussions about that for about the last 10 years or so. And to me, it's surprising that it's taken this long to do it. One of the things that everybody is nervous about and looking for now, though, is those copycat people who come out that saw how successful he was doing that. And now those people that may be planning on, instead of going to a school classroom somewhere, may be planning something for another major event, somewhere in the city, somewhere around our country. So those are things that probably scares law enforcement more than anything, because on the long-range shooters are a different situation completely from someone going into a theater and shooting. And there's just so many possibilities that can happen from long range, and it's very difficult to deal with.
And let's touch on that, too, because there are things that yesterday in Cleveland, Tennessee, just right across the Ocoee Gorge from us, a young man was arrested because of threatening on Facebook.
Right.
He worked for the Whirlpool manufacturing company, and he posted on Facebook, well, if I went into Whirlpool and shot the place up, I bet they'd remember my name.
Right.
He was arrested for that. So tell people about what kind of things that on Facebook, when it comes to that kind of serious threat, the one thing that he said, if. Right. So that's going to be hard.
What happens on that is there's a law that's basically, it's communicating threats, but there's one specifically for terroristic threats. And terroristic threats are things that you threaten to do on a mass scale. Those are a little bit different than communicating threat. If on a communicating threat, the way it's in the books, generally speaking, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a judge or an attorney, so I can't tell you the law and the way it is. I can just tell you my interpretation of it. But generally speaking, if I call you up and say I'm on my way to kill you, that's a threat. If I call you up and I say, if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to come kill you. Generally speaking, that's not a threat because it's what they call conditional.
Right.
You have the if you do this, right? Some of those can be construed into threats depending on what's said and how it's said. But for generally speaking, those conditional threats are not charged communicating threats. Terroristic threats are a little bit different. When you talk about things on mass scale and mass casualties, they're a little bit different. It gives officers a little bit more leeway to detain people, to arrest people, to do searches of homes and things of that nature. Of course, we still have to do search warrants, and we can't just go into your home without a warrant. But it gives us a little bit extra avenue to do search warrants. One of the things that's probably going to happen on a situation like that is if that statement alone is all they have, it probably will eventually get dismissed or taken out of court. If they were to go to his home and then find bomb-making materials or find weapons stockpiled or some type of plan of doing that, something to go along with that threat, then that's a charge that would stick in court, and it's a charge that they would follow through with. And so it's very hard to say, in hypotheticals as to whether a person be arrested or not arrested or whether it'll stick or not stick, because there are just so many variables that go with that.
And there was chemicals in the Las Vegas bombers' car that used to, I guess, from fertilizer that
ammonium nitrate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I understand. I watched a video of them testing out in the desert, shooting a vehicle with that in it, and it completely just destroyed the.
Well, if you remember Timothy McVeigh in Oklahoma City bombing, that's what they used was ammonium nitrate to blow the federal building up. And so it's a very volatile mixture. Typically, well, I don't want to tell you how to make it, right. but it's a very volatile mixture that you can put together, and you can be very powerful and very explosive.
All right, so there was probably some intended purpose for that, other than just hauling them in that.
From what we're getting from the law enforcement world, generally what they're saying now, and like I said, there's been no official report put out about all this yet, but generally what we're getting from Nevada and getting that's going on in their bulletins in the law enforcement world is basically he didn't plan on dying in that room. Mm-hmm. He planned on leaving. He planned on getting to his vehicle, and he had alternative things planned at that point. So I think that's what the whole vehicle situation was, and other weapons stored in other places and things of that nature.
There are so many unanswered questions, and some probably will never be answered.
I would say that probably most of the questions will never be answered as to why.
All right, Sheriff, I can see that we've run over a few minutes again.
Yeah.
Some days we don't see each other for 3 weeks at a time, and then here we are. We can't see enough of each other this week. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, all will be so. But make sure to join us tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, for the Veterans Appreciation at the Band of Brothers Veterans Park. If you can't make it for any reason, I plan on being there doing a Facebook Live, so you can tune in to our WKRK Facebook page, and then at 1 o'clock the parachute jump.
Right.
And
everybody come out and have fun tomorrow.
And again, that's if you hit Pleasant Valley Road, you cannot miss it. I promise. Unless you're not looking to the left or right. Yeah. But Pleasant Valley Road connects Bojangles and Murphy and comes out there next to Murphy Building Supply and the Sweet Tooth, that area. And just hop on that road, and it's just actually you can see it from the sheriff's office, can't you?
You can see the park. You can't see where the wall's at from the sheriff's office, but you can actually see the park from the sheriff's office.
All right. Well, Sheriff, thanks for all that you do and for all the information you provide. And
thank you.
Always a pleasure. You're tuned to 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, and worldwide at country.am. Stay tuned. Pastor Rod Brown is coming up next from the Little Brasstown Baptist Church. First, we have your weather forecast brought to you by Carpet Mart.